Steelers fans, what's going on? This is Jeff Hartman, editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com with another episode of the Steelers post game. That's right. The Steelers have just wrapped up their game about 30 minutes ago, weeks 2 of the NFL preseason 2019. Normally, Lance Williams is with me. He's busy, so Dave Schofield fills in. How's it going, Dave?
It's going. It's late. I mean, with that delay and everything, this is late.
It's been a really weird week for the Steelers with, Coach Drake's passing, and then the game just followed suit, and, they didn't get started until 8:30 on the East Coast, didn't finish till late. But how about the fact that here are Dave and myself living in the state of Maryland, and we're watching the game, and all of a sudden at halftime, the NFL Network decides that they're just not going to show the game anymore. And so what happened now? You were watching the Cowboys and the Rams in Hawaii. So therefore, I switched over to Game Pass, was able to watch on my computer. Dave, you said you signed up for the free 7-day trial of Game Pass, right?
Absolutely. That was my only choice. I was
Yeah.
trying to hold off for that for week 4, but I'm like, I got to get it. I had to listen to one drive on the radio.
Yeah.
And then I came in right after whenever the Steelers got the ball back at their first possession of the third quarter.
Yeah, so for those of you that didn't get to watch the second half, it was a lot of the same in terms of it was sloppy. There were little bursts of excitement, like a big play. I just right off the bat, something that's just stuck with me was the offensive pass interference call on Deontay Johnson. Dave, did you see that play or did you miss that?
Did I see that play? I mean, I know who didn't see that play, and that was the officials because that was awful.
Yeah.
That was here was the problem with NFL Game Pass is we had to watch the Kansas City Chiefs feed. So we
Yeah.
did not get Bob Pompiani constantly messing up saying Artie Burns caused that fumble when it was Terrell Edmonds
Right.
and Charlie Batch. Instead, we had Trent Green and people I don't even care to remember their names. But they thought that was a terrible call. So when the other team is like, boy, I don't know how else you could have a call like that and not overturn it, then that tells you that it was really bad.
Yeah, it seemed pretty obvious. And just like Deontay Johnson's touchdown later in the game seemed pretty obvious that the ball hit the ground and that he didn't really have possession prior to. I just felt like the officiating again for the second week in a row was a little much for me. I've said it before. I'll say it again. In the preseason, they try to throw a ton of flags, I feel, to kind of get the players accustomed to the way they're going to be calling things. But at the same time, I don't necessarily think that it's going to be that way in the regular season rolls around. But let's get right to the game. The Steelers win 17-7. If you're curious, is okay, who's the starter and who started, who didn't? Let's talk about the Steelers. Mason Rudolph got the start. The offensive line was almost intact outside of David DeCastro and Marquise Pouncey. Now, they did move Matt Filer to guard, and Chuks Okorafor started at tackle. Talk about him in a second. James Conner saw his first playing time and first contact actually tonight. Juju Smith-Schuster played. Dante Moncrief played. Talk about him in a little bit. Defensively, Dave, who were the starters that were not playing in this game? I'm trying to think if there were any, really.
Starters, it was Joe Hayden was one that he did not play.
But Sean Davis played.
Yeah, Sean Davis played. Do you consider Devin Bush a starter or not? Because he did not play tonight.
Well, considering Tyler Matakevich started because Vince Williams is also held out, then yes.
Williams is the other one who didn't start.
Yeah,
so it was Mark Barron, and not much of Mark Barron, but boy, was he right there on that coverage on that wheel route they tried to throw to the running back there early in the game, and was right there. I'm like, that's the kind of coverage you want to see out of a middle linebacker. Yes. I'm trying to think. I mean, Cam Hayward played a little bit. Played a little bit. The outside linebackers played a lot, but that's because they only had 5, and one of them had only been a Steeler for 3 days.
Well, and not only that, they got some good pressure. I was impressed. And even the Chiefs announcers said, I think it might have been Trent Green, who I can't stand. He's turning into Phil Simms 2.0. Sorry about that. Where he just everything's against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they blitz more than any other team I've ever seen in the preseason. Well, yeah, that's kind of their calling card, Trent. They like to put pressure on the quarterback. So we'll get to all that. Let's talk a little bit about the first thing before we get into like our surprises or who did well and who disappointed. Let's talk about the quarterbacks for a second, because I feel like there's definitely a lot to be discussed here. We don't have to go into the nitty gritty of it, but after tonight's game with Mason Rudolph getting the start with essentially the starters, where do these quarterbacks stand heading into week 3?
That's interesting. It'll be really interesting to see who comes in after Ben next week. I thought Rudolph was although Coach Tomlin said at halftime that he felt that some of the receivers dropped some of the passes. He tried to get a ball to Juju on third down after 2 Connor runs the very first drive, but that was really good coverage and still almost got it in there.
Now, that Xavier Grimble drop was a beautiful throw.
That's
Beautiful throw.
that I hadn't even got to that point yet because I was still on the first drive. But I thought that Rudolph did a lot of nice things. Dobbs did some nice things, but he did some pretty not nice things.
Yeah.
So I feel that Rudolph wins the battle of consistency.
I have to give it to you because I think that when you look at Rudolph, I mean, he didn't have any interceptions or anything like that. I thought he made some aggressive throws, and that's something that Mike Tomlin referred to him as aggressive earlier in the week during his press conference. Throwing the balls into some really tight windows. I just felt like there was so many lulls. The first quarter was scoreless. It was boring. But in the second quarter, when Rudolph got the ball for the first time in that quarter, I just had a feeling he's going to Washington. He's going to go to James Washington. Yep. That's like his security blanket. Most quarterbacks, it's a tight end, but not him. And that's when he threw that beautiful in route into coverage, which was just a great throw, great catch by Washington. And I think that Mason Rudolph, now Tomlin after the game tonight was asked, did Mason Rudolph show you enough to be considered the backup? And he quickly shot that down. I understand why, but at the same time, I thought Rudolph, and people are talking about it in the live chat right now, I thought Rudolph represented himself okay. He got settled in. He kind of calmed down. It doesn't help that, for crying out loud, the Steelers have a turnover for once, and that's when Edmonds causes the fumble, which was recovered by Sean Davis. And then the next play from scrimmage, Rudolph completes a pass, and Moncrief fumbles the football right back to the Chiefs. You can't do anything about that. That hurts momentum. That hurts the rhythm of the offense. So Devlin Hodges, though, impressed me again a little bit. And I was very skeptical to even talk about him, but when the guy gets on the football field, they're giving him a chance to throw the ball. And this is a difference than if you go back to years past in these preseason games when they get the fourth quarterback in. A lot of times it's, look, man, just hand the ball off and let's get out of here quick. They're letting him throw the football, and he was the one that orchestrated the drive, Deontay Johnson's touchdown, which I thought was a really good pass. What were your thoughts on Hodges compared to some of the other quarterbacks that played tonight?
I mean, I thought that he did a nice job, but at the same time, there at the end, it was he took him down and got the touchdown, made the nice throw, and then after that, it was just let's wind the clock down and be done.
Right.
So he didn't get that much of an opportunity, but he made the most of it. I thought he did a nice job. I don't know that it was such an amazing job that's oh my goodness, they can't get rid of him or anything like that. I thought if they only had 2 out of the 3 quarterbacks, I think they would be fine. I don't think that it's such a big thing that all 3 of them are so great that they are don't know what to do with them. So he played solid.
Well, I'm going to say this. I think they all 3 played well enough.
Yeah.
And we know Mason Rudolph's not going anywhere, but Dobbs and Hodges, you might actually get a suitor for one of those guys. I'm not saying that they pull the trigger, but you might get a team picking up the phone saying, hey, what do you think, what are you thinking here in terms of Joshua Dobbs? What do you think about Devlin Hodges? Would you be willing to give him up? And if so, for what? You might get some people that are thinking about it, because quarterback play in the NFL is their premium. And I'm not saying he is the best out there, as I think it was Ali put it in the live chat. I'll throw it up there. he says Hodges can really tear up those future high school coaches, meaning he's going against some pretty subpar competition, and we all understand that. But at the same time, he's making good throws, and that's something that, like Joshua Dobbs on that goal line interception, that was not a good
No.
throw at all.
And he had the guy. He didn't set
But
his
he was
feet and
open.
complete the throw,
He was open, just sailed on him.
Yep.
Okay,
But he
so
did make the tackle. He did
that's
come back and
true.
make the tackle.
He did come back and make the
So,
tackle. Yeah, I'm not going to say what I was thinking at the time. But anyways, let's get into surprises and disappointments from this game. You can go either side of the ledger, and it doesn't matter. You can say whomever you'd like, starter, backup. I don't care. Someone that was a pleasant surprise, not necessarily a surprise, but you thought played well, and then a disappointment, someone that you were expecting a little bit more of. Go ahead with your first, whoever you want to talk about.
all right, we'll go. I'll say I was surprised to see. I don't know if I was surprised. I was very welcome to see. I'll say surprised. Bud Dupree come out there and really go after it. But I have to throw that out there as like it's great. Let's see that in the regular season. Let's see it all. Let's see it more often. But he seems like he's a guy that's really going after. I mean, he had 2 sacks tonight. So now the first sack he had, the whole pocket collapsed. He just happened to be the first one there. So they were right there on it. It was really good to see him. But then, he still there was a time where they bounced out around his corner and he couldn't make the play and got a big run. But he was an individual surprise. My overall surprise was that I don't care if it was the backups. They held Kansas City to 7 points. I
Yeah.
mean, I never would have imagined that. That is the most surprising thing to me. So that tells me it was a lot of players doing their job. Should I go ahead and say the disappointment, or are you going to do your surprise?
No, go ahead. We're going to talk about more than one of each, so
Okay.
we can go however you want.
I was disappointed, especially in the first half with Mike Hilton.
Yep.
He got burnt on the one big pass play where the guy got behind him. I don't know if that was his responsibility on that touchdown when they threw it all in. It was in between 3 guys, and he was one of them. Um, was it him and Davis and Sutton were the 3? I know it was him and Sutton for sure.
Yeah.
But I really felt that he is not showing that it was the injury that created any kind of problems last year. I was kind of disappointed. Now he came back out and played better in the second half, in my opinion. But I'm not paying attention to which Chiefs players are out there. I don't know which level of quality he was going against, so I don't know if that added to it as well. But that was disappointing.
Well, they started to do things with him that they did more in 2017 in the second half. You saw him blitzing more. He was around the line of scrimmage more. He's vulnerable in coverage. And so they're going to have to be very selective. And that's why I think they like Cameron Sutton a lot. So just a quick thought on Hilton. But I'm going to go with my surprise. Let's see here. There's a couple players I could pick. I'll give some props to Benny Snell. I thought he had a better game. I never thought that I would see him flash so much on special teams because some of his best plays have been on special teams coverage units. And I got to be honest, my goodness, if you're Mike Tomlin, that's the type of guy you want on your team. It's going to go balls to the wall, as we used to say as a coach, to make a play on special teams. It's not even what you were drafted to do, but you're going to go out there because it's going to help the team. So I'll give mad props to Benny Snell Jr. I was tough on him last week. I'll give him some credit this week. My disappointment was so Dante Moncrief has gotten all these props at training camp, and he and Ben Roethlisberger are on the same page. They look great, yada, yada, yada. First time touching the ball in a Steelers uniform, he gets 2 feet down and fumbles the football. I'm not. It wasn't like a play that was going to go for 80 yards and a touchdown. But my gosh, Mike Tomlin said this in the post-game press conference tonight about how he was happy that the team was taking the ball away, but he said we can't give it away as much as we did. That's part of this ratio. And Moncrief cannot do that. They can't fumble the football away. Vance McDonald had a real sloppy fumble earlier in the game too. I'm not closing the book on Moncrief because he only touched the ball one time tonight, and it was just a really ugly play. But that's a horrible way to start your career in a new venue. So there's that.
Almost as bad as throwing a pick six in your first pass of your first start ever, like one Mason Rudolph did last year.
Well,
But
was that his first start? In his first start, yeah, it
yeah,
wasn't
his
his first
first
game.
start.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, it was his
yeah,
first start. And but no, it was just one of those brutal things. Yeah, that's a stat line. 1 catch, 1 yard, 1 fumble. Ouch.
okay. You have any other surprises or disappointments?
Let's see. That was by far the biggest disappointment. I thought
Oh, I've got a disappointment. If you want me
no,
to
go
go,
ahead and do another one.
Xavier Grimble was a disappointment.
Yeah,
Um,
with that big drop, that
I,
was
the,
that was
it
embarrassing.
wasn't only that he wasn't an effective blocker. At least in week one, his blocking was close to above the line, I guess is what you'll call it. But he wasn't blocking well, and you can't have a ball. It wasn't. It was right in the wheelhouse, and you can't drop it. You just
Yeah.
can't drop that ball. Xavier Grimble was someone we talked about on the Steelers preview show last Thursday night, saying he needs to show out. He's a guy that needs to show up and prove, look, I'm the tight end number two. And at a time where Zach Gentry was held out because of injury, an undisclosed injury, they really don't have the depth for him to just completely fall off. I was not happy with him. I'll go with another surprise, and I shouldn't even be surprised by this. Ali will tell you I shouldn't be surprised by this, and that's James Washington. I guess I expected the production to kind of decline a little bit. It's not, and I know he's going against some second string guys, third string guys. He's making plays against starters tonight. He
Yeah.
has a completely different look, and he's putting off a completely different vibe as a receiver. He looks comfortable. He looks confident. He looks like he's a player that just wants to go out and make a play. And what I like most about him is already in this preseason, which is just 2 weeks, you've seen so many different catches that to me are the complete opposite or the antithesis of what Mike Wallace was with Pittsburgh. And Mike Tomlin famously called him the what? The one trick
One trick
pony.
pony.
Yes. I mean, you've seen James Washington go deep. You've seen him go up and attack the ball. You've seen him go over the middle. Tonight, Mason Rudolph had that ball sail on him a little bit. Washington climbs the ladder, brings it down with two hands, gets his feet in. He is turning into not just a really good receiver, a very well-rounded receiver. And that's what's impressed me more than anything, because when everyone talked about him coming out of Oklahoma State, it was all the same thing. And that is the guy's good on go routes. He can run down the field. He had I think the highest yards per reception average in the NCAA that his senior year. He's showing to be so much more than that. So it shouldn't be a surprise, but I was just really pleasantly surprised by the way I've seen him play so far.
Yeah, let's take Juju out of this equation because we kind of know what Juju is. And if you just had your receivers that you say what they did tonight would be what you got out of the season for 2019, Moncrief would be, of course, an immense disappointment. But if we got that out of Deontay Johnson and James Washington, we're good. We wouldn't have to have, the Dante Moncrief come up and make all these great plays. So if you're telling me that two guys, when you had, three of those receivers right there, wondering who's going to step up and be the number two and stuff like that, and two of those guys played that well, the the most veteran guy, I think, has the biggest chance to bounce back. So I'm pretty happy with how the receiving core is shaping up right now.
Yeah. Okay. What about it? Do you have any other disappointments, surprises, or anything like that?
Um,
I know you're not used to the knee jerk rating of like Nancy.
yeah, I know. I no, I mean, I was kind of disappointed that, with you mentioned Vance McDonald's fumble. It's great that it
Mhm.
went out of bounds. They got it right back. That was kind of disappointing because that was the first catch by a tight end after the last catch of a tight end last week was a fumble, which then gave them a chance to go down and possibly tie the game. Um, I I overall thought that the things were a little sloppy early. I think that had a lot to do with their whole schedule being off with that delay. Because notice Kansas City didn't come out with Mahomes and just tear it up and air it out and get in the end zone anyway. Sorry, in the touchdown zone anyway. Uh, I couldn't help it.
I know.
But so the fact that they both kind of started the way that they did makes me almost kind of want to say I understand what was going on with Rudolph and whatnot. But I think they came out with, Rudolph had a little bit of a disadvantage because I felt that they wanted to come out and make sure they got Connor the touches and get them early because they didn't want to leave him out there a long time, but they wanted to give him the carries. So all in all, I, especially on the defense, I was very happy. It's hard to find disappointments until I go back and watch the game again.
Yeah, and that's these are kind of knee-jerk reactions, so to speak, and I know that's
I can
Brian's.
I can give you one.
Okay.
I was disappointed that I didn't notice Johnny Holden on special teams, and I don't want to see him returning kicks. I don't. That's not going to be his job. His job is going to be in coverages. But I didn't. He didn't stand out to me in any of them. But at the same time, I still got to watch it again. So that was disappointing to me because I thought he had a chance to step up and say, "Hey, I'm going to make this. I'm going to make them either keep an extra wide receiver or think about cutting someone because they're going to need me for special teams." And I didn't see it tonight.
Yeah, that's a good point. I will go with a surprise, not a surprise. Again, pleasantly surprised. James Conner, I thought ran the ball really well, and he's turning into a back that I didn't realize this because I didn't go to training camp this year, but he had not been in any full contact drills yet. Even when they were in padded practices, he's not running the ball too much because I get it. Tomlin wants to decrease the amount of hits on his starting running back. But he pass protected well. He ran the ball hard. I love how he just always seems to get those 3-4 yard runs. It doesn't. There's no real hole, but he's just getting enough push from the offensive line. I thought he looked really, really good, and it was good to see him back on the field. He obviously left unscathed. A quick note about injuries: there'll be an article up tomorrow morning. It's already written and scheduled about the injuries that Mike Tomlin listed. He said Benny Snell has a groin injury. I want to say, I'm trying to think who else was it. You mentioned Dave. He talked about Devin
It
Bush.
was Chicolo had a
Yes.
chest injury.
How does that guy hurt his chest every year? I feel like every year he has a chest injury.
Did he get on the field?
Yeah, he was on the field. I remember
I
seeing
was
him. Yeah.
trying to figure out when I saw him. Was he on the field that first series of the third quarter where I didn't get to watch?
No, I don't know. I can't remember. But so and then he talked about how Devin Bush had a shoulder, so they held him out, and Zach Gentry had an undisclosed injury, and he's going to say more about Ola Adenye.
Yes,
I guess it would be
Tuesday.
Tuesday. He might go back to his Tuesday press conference now. So
well, I don't know. They play Sunday night. So yeah, he might. I don't know if they'll do Tuesday or not. They'll announce it here sometime soon.
Okay.
But someone did mention something. Except they had the wrong player. It wasn't Johnny Holden. It was Eli Rogers. Well, it might have been Johnny Holden on a different play, but Eli Rogers could have on that play where Mason Rudolph scrambled out, pump faked the guy, made the defender miss, threw it deep. He stood and waited for the ball to come to him, and if he comes back to it, he probably gets that catch.
Yeah, I don't think he gets in the touchdown zone, but I think he definitely makes the catch. So,
yeah.
All right, let's get to someone that used the super chat feature. Varys did put that up there on the screen for you. They said that I think Dobbs will be the odd man out this season. Put $1.99 in the tip jar. We appreciate that. While you're seeing this on your screen, if you're watching live on YouTube or you're hearing it, you're like, what is that all about? What is that super chat feature? Wherever you're chatting with us, wherever you type in the text on the right is a small little money sign. You can donate any amount of money to the show. You don't have to, but you can. And if you do, we'll guarantee to read your show or read your comment or question on the air, and it'll be good to go. So you don't have to use it, like I said. But if you want to give us some, if you want to give us a few bucks, we're not going to turn it down either, because we're going to try to regurgitate that back into the show and stuff like that. Which, Dave, let's stop for a second because we have a lot of people on the show. Please tell everyone about the giveaway we're doing. Because my gosh, we keep on forgetting to do it on the preview show. So we're giving away an autographed David DeCastro football. It's no strings attached. It's free. But here are the stipulations. Dave, go ahead and tell them.
All right. So the way it works, I'm going in here to check it out because as we got going, we found out there was some limitations that we had to then take care of. We are doing what is called, they technically changed the name a couple years ago to survival football rather than to survivor football
Oh my
because
gosh.
of the whole rights and TV shows and reality
Oh,
TV.
okay. I thought you
Yeah,
were
but
gonna say
it's
because people thought it was too harsh to say it was I was surviving. Like it's just like
no,
how some people say now you can't say it's sudden death overtime. It's sudden victory. Come on.
no, that's just
They
no,
actually say that. That's
no.
not just that's
No,
a
no.
thing.
This. I think this was a problem because of the TV show. But I still call it Survivor because that's what it is. But it's a Survivor football league. For those of you that do not know, that just means when you're in the league, week one, you pick it one team to win. If they win, you go on. If they lose, you're out. You move on to week two. You got to do it again. But you can't use the same team more than once. So once you use a team, you can't use them anymore. We opened that up. It's through Yahoo Fantasy Sports. We had an article about it. We keep bringing it back up on the site. We'll make sure we get that towards the front again tomorrow. Um, well, then after we got going, we found out there's a limit of 100 people in a league, and we hit 100 people. So we started another league, and we're getting close to 100 people in that league. Actually, when I look at it here, I'm a little bit slow. But if we fill that one up, guess what we're going to do? We'll start another league, but you have to win overall. We'll sum it up in an article every week of how many people are left in each one. If you're the last person standing, the football is yours. It's that simple. Anyone can play. BTSC staff can play. We're trying to get all the writers in there. I know Jeff's in
I'm
there.
in there. I'm in there.
Um, I think I saw Flip in there. I don't know. I don't know if Lance is in there yet or not. If not, Lance, get on this. Come on. Because I'm pretty sure you know what? I might not have texted Lance the new league because the old one filled up, but I don't know if he got in or not. So if you go and it says, we're sorry that this league is filled up, be patient. As soon as I find that out, I'll kick another one out there for us to do. But that's all you got to do. Now, we did throw in some more difficult stuff that if you make it to week 15, then you're going to have to start picking two teams every week. Because if we get that far and we still got a lot of people, we got to start thinning it down. But be surprised at how many people get knocked out that first week. That first week of the NFL, you there's a lot of things that happen that people don't expect. So you'll see some people get knocked out there, and then it's hard to you don't realize that how much you miss these teams that you want to pick later on that you can't. So it should be fun. We have it all laid out in an article, so you can check it out
Yeah.
there. But it should be good for everyone.
Yeah, and that's I was telling my dad about it because he was like, "That'd be pretty cool to have a David DeCastro football," and I was like, "Well, yeah, you can get in the league." He said, "Why are you guys doing this for free?" And I said, "I
Because
think
it's fun.
it's fun, and I think it develops a sense of community. You
Mm-hmm.
know, all of us in a survivor pool together and seeing who can last the longest. I just think it's really good, and that's why we enjoyed giving away like the preseason tickets and the draft party tickets. We're going to try to do as much stuff as we can. And so the super chat feature that we mentioned earlier, a lot of that money can go towards some of that stuff. And so, like I said, we're going to try to regurgitate that back into the show. We're not just going to stuff our pockets with the $1.99 tips we get all the time in the tip jar. So, okay. Real quick though, anything else stand out to you after week 2? This was such a strange game. It had moments where it flew by and moments where it was just completely dragging on. Did anything else stand out to you? Could be anything.
Anything stands out. All There'll be an article coming out tomorrow with the numbers that I was hoping. I was kind of looking more on the defensive side this time about what the defense could do against Kansas City. My goodness. I never would have imagined that Kansas City would have only scored 7 points, regardless of what guys they put out there. I thought our defense just. I mean, they gave up some first downs, but they only gave up 17 first downs. Big improvement from the 31 from last week. But it was interesting because I actually had a commenter today tell me that we shouldn't look at team stats because the defense isn't even trying to stop the other team in the preseason. I'm like, no, that's not true. All these guys are trying to get out there and earn a spot. They're all playing hard. It's not like they're not trying to not to just let anyone score. So I thought that they played hard overall, and I was pretty just happy overall with the total performance against a quality opponent.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely. Now, I know that Peter, who is in Ireland, who's a regular on us, he said Tom and lost another challenge. Technically, he did not, because that was actually a booth review from what I read on Twitter. I'm not sure if that is official, but I'm sure those in the press box were getting information, and they said that was a booth review. It was not a Tomlin challenge. So
Really?
that's what they said on
Are you
Twitter.
sure
Yeah.
it was that and not the touchdown that they didn't overturn?
No, I'm pretty
Because
sure.
I thought they actually showed a picture of the flag on the field
Which one?
on the offensive
But
pass
then they can
interference.
always come over and say, "Coach, it's being reviewed anyways. You don't
Okay,
need to throw a
okay,
flag." So
gotcha. With
I
that whole pass interference thing, I'm not sure how it works still because
right,
it's so
right,
new.
right. Yeah. Okay. We had a couple super chats come in here. People were really active. I like to see that. It's keeping me awake right now. Snowman, $2 for the tip jar from Snowman. He says, "Who would be a surprise cut?" Let's go offense and defense here. On offense, a surprise cut for me would be if they were to. Um, I would be surprised if they cut Ryan Switzer. I would. I'm not saying it's impossible. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to think of a guy that could possibly be cut,
Mm,
but would be like, it's not a surprise if Trey Edmonds gets cut. He's probably going to get cut. So
yeah.
I would say Ryan Switzer. Who do you have, Dave, on offense?
I think that'd be. I think if they cut a quarterback other than Devlin Hodges, that would be a surprise cut. If they cut
Okay.
Josh Dobbs, like it was a surprise cut when they cut Landry Jones last year. I think that
Or
would be a surprise. Now, you mentioned something about Ryan Switzer. I still kind of feel like it's almost like a Ryan Switzer versus Deontay Spencer. Which one of them are going to make it? And I still think it's an Eli Rogers versus like a Johnny Holton, meaning because Holton's not going to come in and be your punt returner. Between Switzer and Deontay Spencer, one of them can then take care of return issues. What it comes with Holton and Rogers is Rogers' value as a receiver so much more as Holton as a special teams guy. So I would be surprised if it was Switzer as well. Uh, Defense.
surprise cut on defense.
I'll go.
Go ahead. If you're
I
ready,
would be.
go.
Everyone wants them to go, but I would really be surprised if they cut Tyler Matakevich because they consider him their special teams ace. I know, like he looked really bad trying to be out there in coverage on that tight end tonight. That was in the first half. I'm pretty sure that looked really bad, but the goal is that he doesn't have to go in and play. So I'd be really surprised if they cut him because of how they use him for special teams.
Okay, I'm gonna go with. I'd be shocked if they. And I can't believe I'm saying this. I'd be shocked if they cut Artie Burns. I think Artie Burns has
I thought
proven
he
a
played well
lot.
tonight.
I thought he played well tonight too. It was a step in the right direction. People say, "Oh, he's going against second and third string guys." Well, yes, he is, but you know what? Maybe that's what he needs. Maybe he needs that confidence of going up against a Chad Henne and not a Patrick Mahomes, and he plays well. So I thought Artie Burns did a good job tonight, and I would be surprised if they were to cut part ways with him at this point. So let's go back to the super chat. Kathy says $5 to the in the tip jar for. She appreciates you guys staying up for a show. Hey, it's part of the job, but I can't say I don't enjoy it. I love talking about the Steelers and all that stuff. So we'll definitely check it out. Let's see here. A lot of people talking about Dobbs. Hawkins is another name that someone brought up as that could be a
Yeah.
surprise. I don't know if that would
I
be a
don't know. I don't
surprise
think
though.
that's a surprise. Someone isn't going to make it between Hawkins, Okorafor, Banner, and Johnson. In my opinion, I'm not even talking about Derwin Gray, who was drafted by the Steelers,
Yeah,
because I haven't just seen enough from him. I think he's got practice squad written all over him, if that.
what about Dan McCullers? What if he got? That would
Well,
be a
that's a
surprise.
different position. I was going to say that's
But
four linemen
right,
for
but
three
I'm
spots.
saying, but on defense, if Dan McCullers got cut, that would be a surprise.
It would be a surprise, but it would be a welcomed one, if you know what I mean.
I do.
Yeah. So it's just he's a one-trick pony.
I did. Yeah.
That's the problem. He's a one-trick pony that I would rather have. I would rather keep a more versatile defensive lineman.
Right. So Travis said this on the live chat. I want to put it up here, and I agree. I thought the pass defense was a lot better this week. It probably should be noted that like Steven Nelson played more this week and Justin Lane played less this week. But at the same time, I do agree with a lot of the things that he said in regards to the fact that the pass defense was better. When you get pressure and you can combine that with a good pass defense, you see a frustrated offense. And I think
Mhm.
that, the Chiefs, although they moved the ball a little bit in the first drive with Patrick Mahomes and company, the Steelers kind of they just bend, don't break, do your job, be in the right spot, and there you go. So, did you agree with that sentiment that the pass defense looked better?
Absolutely. I also thought it almost seemed like they were trying to go at Steven Nelson early on. A couple passes that were incomplete went going his direction. I wonder if that was because of a familiarity thing with him going against his former team. But I thought that was interesting. I liked seeing Justin Lane knock the ball away on the last play in the end zone.
Yeah.
I'm like, that that's good for him going into this week of practice.
The one thing that I do, I was sitting down, I was waiting for the game to start, waiting, and I wanted to watch Travis Kelsey, and I really wanted Devin Bush to play because I
Hmm.
wanted to see Bush on Kelsey, but Mark Barron marked him up a good bit and did a really good job with it. Just from the few plays that I saw them on the field together lined up across from one another, I do want to go back and watch that matchup. I thought Barron, I think he has the look of everything they wanted in him. I don't
Yeah,
know what some people expected. He's a good coverage linebacker, safety hybrid type guy. He's a guy that in one play he came up to the line of scrimmage and jammed Kelsey, and then it was on his hip the entire way down the field. That's what you want.
yeah,
He took him out of the play. He took him off his route and he took him out of the play. I think that said a lot to me. Um, People were talking about Jordan Berry could be gone. There's Peter said that could be gone. Thankfully, I'd agree with the thankfully part. I don't know if either punter did a very good job tonight. Some of the kicks look like wounded ducks and angled out of bounds, and I don't know. But I kind of agree with what Ali said here. I think the entire defense is going to have a good year. If they can stay
yeah.
healthy, if they can stay healthy, I absolutely agree with you. So, all right, Dave, we're going to be breaking this game down all week on every single show,
Hmm.
whether it's a standard is a standard tomorrow with myself and Lance, or whether it's the hangover on Monday or your stat geek on Tuesday, or we're going to have a ton of shows this week. Real quick, final thoughts on the game that was in week 2 of the NFL preseason for the Steelers.
How do you not like the fact that you held a team that was the number one scoring offense last year and the number one scoring offense last week in the preseason when they had a lot of their reserve guys in to hold them to 7 points? That's the story. That's what I think the Steelers really need to take away with this. Um, I do think it's. I got to comment on some of the stuff coming from the live chat. There's a good chance that the Steelers punter in 2019 is not on their roster right now.
That's true.
Because I mean, Berryman would have had a good punt his first one if he wouldn't have put it so far out of bounds. Barry needed an enormous bounce just to get it 40 yards, and then the guy returned it a decent chunk. I mean, I don't know. It seems like it could be an area for concern. So that's a disappointment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just thought that this was it was kind of a boring game. But we have a lot to as a coach. I guarantee they love it because a lot of stuff didn't go well. And so they're going to get to dissect it and they're going to get to go over it over and over again. And so it's going to be really interesting to see how they do the next game, which will be week 3 in Tennessee. You say that's Sunday?
Sunday night football on NBC. We won't have anyone. We won't have to worry about them cutting away partway through the game. That
Oh,
we should be everyone, anyone who gets NBC should be able to see that game in its entirety next Sunday night. I know Jeff loves these prime
these
time
late games kill
games.
me,
They hey,
man.
all of them for the preseason were primetime games.
I know you stay up until like 3 or 4 a.m. every night. I don't.
No, I
I
only
am
when I
not that
have to. I don't like to. Only when
good.
I have to. which tonight I'm probably going to have to.
You'll be fine. So, okay. With that said, we appreciate everyone who's participating this late, or maybe if you're like Lance, it's not that late for him on the West Coast. We appreciate all the support and all those that donated money tonight to the show on our live chat and our stream. We always are thankful for that. Make sure you check out BehindTheSteelCurtain.com tomorrow for all your recap news, winners, losers, injury reports. We'll update that football David DeCastro autograph football contest. You can check that out. Get involved in that survivor pool. We appreciate that. And then obviously, if you didn't know we had a YouTube channel, go to YouTube, search BTSC Steelers Radio, subscribe. Everyone always complains that we don't have a schedule. If you subscribe, you turn your notifications on your phone, you will get a little notification every single time we go live. So do that so you don't miss a show. And then also on our audio platforms, anywhere where you search for podcasts, search Behind the Steel Curtain or Steelers, and you'll find us. So with that said, Dave, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. As Lance always sends us out, tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe. We'll see you next Sunday night. Another late edition of the Steelers postgame. We'll see you.